Discover the incredible, heartwarming journey of a grandfather's unexpected love that changes everything. In the quiet town of Maple Grove, where days rolled like tumbleweeds and time seemed to slow, 72-year-old James Thompson could often be found talking to the cherry blossoms in his little garden. For 2 long years, the weight of loneliness sat heavy on his heart, ever since he lost his beloved wife, Margaret. Each day blended into the next, same sun rising, same muted conversations at the local diner, where he sat over coffee, wistfully remembering laughter shared with his children who now had busy lives of their own. The shadows of those memories haunted him as he gazed out the window, yearning for anything to bring back that spark of joy, but one afternoon, everything changed. A moving truck pulled into the driveway next door, the wheels crunching on gravel like a sudden burst of hope. Emma, a young single mother, stepped out with bright eyes and determination, accompanied by her curious son, Lucas. Drawn by sounds of cheerful laughter, James found himself peeking through his curtains, suddenly alive like a light bulb flickering back on. Sparks of hope ignited in his old heart, bringing memories of playing catch and bedtime stories flooding back. As days turned into weeks, James grew closer to Emma and Lucas. He watched the boy chase after butterflies, his laughter a melody that filled the air. One day, gathering courage, James started teaching Lucas about planting seeds. They knelt in the earth together, dirt smeared on their hands, laughter mingling with the sunshine. It felt so good to be needed again. His heart swelled with a love he thought he'd lost forever. Emma often watched them from the porch, a grateful smile lighting up her face. But soon, whispers of gossip began swirling through town like fallen leaves in a crisp autumn breeze. Neighbors exchanged looks, eyebrows raised at the odd friendship between the aging war veteran and the young mother. Some questioned Emma's intentions, while others deemed James as simply out of touch, a relic of a bygone era. The murmurs grew louder, culminating in an impending town meeting to discuss the matter. Fear choked James. Maybe stepping into their lives had been a mistake. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just as James thought of retreating, Lucas hit a bump at school. Trouble found the boy, and James's protective instincts flared like a flag unfurling in the wind. Emma's eyes filled with worry, and in that moment, James felt a rush of purpose surging through him, reminding him of his service and loyalty. Together, they faced the storm ahead, leaning on each other, while the townsfolk watched intently, murmuring their judgments amidst the escalating drama. Wrapped in layers of emotion, fear, hope, love, James and Emma faced the challenges head-on. They began to redefine what family meant in a world clinging to its notions of tradition. Just as James discovered a new lease on life, could he find redemption amid the town's scrutiny? As their bond deepened, so did the questions about what it means to love and support one another against all odds. Would their courage inspire acceptance in a tight-knit community resistant to change? The fabric of James's world was fraying, but as he stepped onto this unexpected journey, a flicker of light shone through the darkness, leaving everyone, including himself, wondering what the next chapter would hold. James stood outside his house, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows across the yard. Lucas was inside, probably doing his homework, while Emma was in the kitchen preparing dinner. The weight of the town's whispers pressed down on him like a heavy fog. He felt it in the way the neighbors looked at him, how they pointed fingers behind closed doors, exchanging worried glances. But today was different. James's resolve hardened. He wasn't just a spectator in his own life anymore, he was part of something that mattered, something real. That morning, Lucas had come home feeling dejected after a rough day at school. He had been bullied by a group of kids who mocked his family's new status and distanced themselves from him. Empathy flooded James as he remembered the sting of his own childhood experiences. What if we turn this around? He thought, suddenly brimming with ideas. He strode toward the porch where Emma stood, hands on her hips, the scent of sizzling garlic wafting through the open door. "Emma," he called, his voice carrying a new sense of urgency. "What if we show the town who Lucas really is? How about a community picnic?" Emma's eyes widened, uncertainty crossing her features for a moment. "A picnic? Do you think that's a good idea with everything going on? I don't want Lucas to feel—" "Exactly," James interrupted, his excitement palpable. "This is a chance to showcase the light he brings to everyone's lives. Let us invite everyone, the parents, neighbors, even the kids who've been unkind. Show them there's more than what they think they know. We can bring people together." Emma considered it. "You really think it can work?" "We won't know unless we try," he replied, his heart pounding with determination. He could see that spark of hope flicker in her eyes too. Later that evening, with a handwritten sign announcing the picnic decorated with crayon drawings from Lucas, they sent out homemade invitations to their neighbors. The excitement buzzed in the air as Emma suggested fun activities for the kids and James cooked his famous chili to share. In his heart, he believed in the power of community, the same power that had once comforted him when Margaret was still by his side. As they prepared for the event, the pressure of the townsfolk's judgment weighed heavily. What if no one came? What if they came but judged? But mixed with that worry was a sense of thrill. The fear of loneliness no longer filled his heart, replaced by hopeful anticipation. The day of the picnic arrived, bright and breezy. James looked around the park, the sun glinting off the branches overhead and the laughter of children ringing in his ears. Yet, as guests began to trickle in, he noticed a few skeptical faces among the crowd, especially those who had openly criticized the friendship between him and Emma. Just then, Lucas ran over, a beaming smile plastered on his face. "Look, Grandpa. The kids are joining in the games." His excitement was infectious, and for a fleeting moment, James thought he could see a bright future ahead, a world where acceptance could thrive. But as the afternoon wore on, conversations filled with judgment suddenly broke out from a small group of neighbors on the other side of the park. Would the picnic turn into a testament of community or an unveiling of resentment? James's heart raced, pulse quickening. Was this a step toward healing, or would it only lead to deeper wounds? In that moment, James faced a reality that felt both exhilarating and terrifying. Was their newfound bond strong enough to withstand the weight of the townspeople's expectations? The winds shifted, their implications lingering in the air, leaving everyone to wonder what the outcome of this day would truly be. James could feel the air thickening around him, curiosity mixing with anxiety. Children ran past, giggling, while parents exchanged nods as they tried to gauge the atmosphere. Lucas dashed off, lost in his world of carefree laughter, but James couldn't shake the murmurs from the small group huddled together beneath the large oak tree. "Look at them," he overheard one neighbor whisper, her voice laced with disapproval. "It's not right, them flaunting their situation like this." James clenched his fists at his sides. Lucas was out there, oblivious to the quiet storm brewing among the corners of the park. But James didn't want to fight. He wanted to build. Still, he felt the weight of his own defensiveness rising, fluttering like a trapped bird in his chest. "Let us play tug-of-war," barked a voice, and James turned his head to see one of the neighborhood kids rallying others for the game. It was a simple invitation, bouncing on excitement, oblivious to the undercurrents surrounding the picnic. "Come on, kids!" Lucas shouted back, waving his arms as if the energy alone would dissolve any lingering doubts. James watched as kids began to gather, eager for a turn, their spirits untainted by adult uncertainties. Emma appeared beside him, expression moving between concern and pride. "Look at them, James," she said softly. "It's beautiful." Her gaze fell on Lucas. He was a beacon, radiating joy and unfiltered acceptance. "Yes, it is," James replied, feeling warmer at the sight. "But I can't help but worry." "Let us not dwell on that," Emma urged, her voice steady. "Let us be here for him. That's what matters." Before he could respond, a shrill laugh erupted from the oak tree group, sharp enough to cut through the laughter of the children. James turned again, anxiety creeping in. One of the neighbors had the audacity to point directly at Lucas, their finger jabbing the air like an accusation. "I knew it wouldn't last," the woman declared, her words purposeful. "That boy is a lost cause." James inhaled sharply, working up the nerve to intervene. He stepped forward, heart thumping like wild drumbeats. He could feel the eyes of Emma and Lucas on him, their trust amplifying the pressure on his shoulders. "Actually," he called out, the weight of the crowd suddenly on his chest, "Lucas is stronger than you think. And judging him won't change who he is or how much he has to offer." The murmurs turned to quiet, but James pressed on, his voice rising, fueled by the heartache of seeing his grandson hurt. "Sometimes, the things you think matter most, like old judgments or fears, are simply shadows. Can you see the joy out there? Can't we just enjoy this moment?" Silence settled like a warm blanket. He caught unsure glances, faces flickering between uncertainty and introspection. The children giggled, focusing on the tug-of-war tugging further away from the negativity. But would it be enough to shift the atmosphere? Suddenly, one of the skeptical neighbors shifted uncomfortably, their gaze dropping as they exchanged a look with another nearby. Was it compassion that flickered there, or still suspicion? Just then, Lucas's exuberant voice cut through the air again. "Grandpa, come play with us." James turned to see Lucas, stretching out his arms, eyes wide with love and hope. Those little hands were calling him back, pulling away the darkness that threatened to overshadow them all. He felt the tug in his heart pulling him toward the laughter, the fun, and the joy so many had forgotten. As he jogged over, laughter erupting, a question lingered in his thoughts: could one moment of courage change everything? Could a picnic transform from judgment to acceptance? In the back of his mind, he wondered what would happen if someone took a step forward. Would they all dare to follow? James joined the throng of children, their laughter buoying him, a sudden surge of joy pulling his heart upward. Lucas's infectious smile brightened the day even more than the sun overhead, and James felt himself relax for the first time since arriving. The world around him dissolved into a blur of color and sound, the whispers from the oak tree now just a distant hum. As the tug-of-war began, James paired off with Lucas, marveling at the strength his grandson held in his small frame. With one hand gripping the rope and the other intertwined with Lucas's, James couldn't help but feel an overwhelming swell of love. The kids cheered them on, their voices rising and falling like waves, and for a moment, everything felt right, but just as the game picked up momentum, the skeptical neighbor's words replayed in his mind. It was hard to shake the sting of judgment, even with the laughter surrounding him. He created more distance with each tug. Could they really shape their future and escape the shadows of prejudice? "Grandpa, we need to pull harder." Lucas's voice cut through his thoughts, bright and determined. James laughed, shaking his head. "All right, let us show them what we've got." Together, they pulled with all their might, laughter mingling with shouts of encouragement from the other kids. James found renewed energy in Lucas's zeal. In that moment, he understood the true strength of love, how it could erase the bitterness of others' words and create bonds that demanded to be seen. The game continued, and as children fell into a heap of giggles on the grass, James noticed a few neighbors lingering on the fringes, their faces softening. Perhaps they found beauty there too, in the uncomplicated joy of childhood, in the unity of effort, and in the undeniable love between him and Lucas. The adults exchanged quick glances. Was there a shift? Were arms that once crossed now relaxed? James held on to that glimmer of hope, refusing to let negativity cloud this precious time. Soon, a few children began rallying others for a new game, and James felt a gentle nudge. He turned to see Emma, her eyes sparkling with encouragement. "You did well," she whispered, leaning close. "You showed them." "Or maybe I just showed myself," he replied, feeling the warmth of gratitude spill from his heart. The light-hearted spirit around them continued to swell, but as the games evolved into another set of routines, James couldn't ignore the underlying tension still lingering in the park. He caught snippets of hushed conversations, a mix of surprise and reluctance. Just then, Lucas tugged at his sleeve, eyes sparkling with mischief. "Tickle fight?" A chorus of agreement followed, and without hesitation, James dove into the playful chaos, laughter erupting like a joyful symphony. He tickled Lucas until they both collapsed in a heap, and for a moment, everything was perfect, but lurking behind those joyous moments was a question James couldn't shake. Would this day be a turning point for the neighborhood, or just a brief reprieve? As the sun began to set, casting vivid hues across the sky, James stole a glance back at the oak tree group. Their dialogues continued, but now there were more open expressions, less rigid stances. Curiosity sparked in their eyes, blending with their doubts. Feeling the air shift again, James breathed in deep. Could this fleeting moment inspire change? He turned back to Emma and Lucas, heart racing with possibility. What if their love could solidify the transformation he dreamed of? As laughter around them turned into shared conversations, someone from the oak tree stepped forward hesitantly, looking toward James and Lucas. The moment felt electric, pregnant with potential. "Would you mind if I joined the fun?" The voice floated over, tentative yet hopeful. James paused, the weight of the moment crashing over him like a wave. Would he dare to welcome change? Could this be the moment they all needed? James's heart raced, and for a brief moment, he stared at the eager face approaching them. The voice belonged to Mrs. Thompson, one of the neighbors who had often eyed James with skepticism. Today, though, her hesitance seemed to melt away under the golden glow of the setting sun. "Sure," Lucas exclaimed, pulling away from James. "The more, the merrier." As Lucas bounded over to the edge of the group, James felt a swell of warmth. This was the very openness he had hoped for, the sort of leap into connection that defied the barriers built by prejudice and fear. Mrs. Thompson glanced back at the others still gathered by the oak tree, her expression a cocktail of anxiety and hope. James caught a glimpse of her softening eyes. I'm not really sure how to play," she stammered, a shy smile creeping onto her lips. "Don't worry," Emma chimed in. "Just follow along. It's all about having fun." As the games continued, James let himself relax. He could see at Mrs. Thompson laughing alongside the kids, her initial apprehension fading, exchanging glances with other parents who seemed encouraged by her boldness. Maybe today could indeed spark something significant within their community. James's smile widened, and he turned to Emma. "Look at her go," he said, pride bubbling up in his chest. "She's really getting into the spirit." Emma beamed, her joy infectious. This is what it's all about, the laughter, the connection. They joined in, and soon Mrs. Thompson found herself amidst a tug-of-war, playfully locking eyes with Lucas as they battled another team. James chuckled at how effortlessly they shattered the boundaries, how joy washed over them all, dissolving uncertainty in its wake. Each shared laugh felt like a brick being removed from an unseen wall, gradually building a bridge, but in that moment of shared delight, doubts lingered around the corners of James's mind. Were the changes real? Would this moment last, or was it a brief flicker of light amid looming shadows? He stole a glance at the oak tree group, who still remained on the periphery, a mix of curiosity and hesitance etched on their faces. "James!" Lucas called out, echoing the excitement he felt. "You should totally jump in. We need your strength." The laughter ignited within him anew, and he couldn't resist the urge to join the fray. He dove into the middle of the children, embracing the energy of their joy, letting it absorb any lingering anxiety. The tug-of-war continued as encapsulated joy floated through the evening air, but in the back of his mind, the question remained. As they finally collapsed onto the grass, breathless with laughter, Mrs. Thompson turned to him and whispered, "It feels good to let go, doesn't it?" "More than you know," he replied, sincerity swelling in his chest. The realization hit him like a wave. This type of connection was exactly what he had wanted for their community, a manifestation of change forged through vulnerability and love. Then, in a moment that felt almost symphonic, the other neighbors began to move, some slowly departing to join the games, others hesitating, yet hopeful. A softness of understanding washed over the park, curling through the air like the dusk settling around them. Just as the gathering became boisterous with renewed excitement, a voice this time sharper than the rest rang out from the oak tree area. "What do you think you're doing?" This is a disgrace. The laughter died down, confusion replaced it, and heads turned toward the sound. James's breath caught in his throat as a familiar figure stepped forward. It was Mr. McMahon, the very neighbor who had once expressed his disdain for their presence in the community. James's heart pounded. What would Mr. McMahon do? Would today's hope withstand his words? The uneasy tension hung heavy in the air, as the joy of the previous moments felt fragile. Would they rise to this challenge together, or crumble under the weight of judgment? Mr. McMahon. Lucas called out, his voice tinged with confusion. The weight of the moment pressed on James as he watched the older man stride forward, a glimmer of anger in his eyes. Your kind being this open, this loud, this unrefined. Mr. McMahon's voice was like ice on a warm day. It's not how things are meant to be around here. A ripple of tension coursed through the crowd. James glanced around, seeing the children's faces freeze in uncertainty. Mrs. Thompson's carefree laughter faded into the background, her joy replaced by an awkward silence. Why does it have to be wrong to enjoy ourselves? Emma spoke up, her voice shaking but resolute. She stepped a little in front of James, her conviction shining through. We're all just trying to connect, to be part of a community. Mr. McMahon crossed his arms, unimpressed. A community? This is not a place for games and nonsense. This is a neighborhood that expects standards. His eyes swept over the gathering like a storm cloud ready to burst. James felt the heat rising in his chest. He could see the hurt in the faces around him, the children unsure of their place in the world. The laughter, the connection, all hung on the edge of Mr. McMahon's words. Standards? He challenged softly, taking a step forward. His heart pounded in his ears. Maybe it's time to rethink what those standards are. If they exclude kindness, laughter, and letting go, then what's the point? Mr. McMahon hesitated, his brows knitting together. The crowd shifted, eyes darting between James and the man representing their fears. It was a tense standoff, the air electric with unspoken questions. Kids, James called out, ignoring Mr. McMahon's presence for just a moment. How about we show Mr. McMahon what we're really about? Who's with me? With that, a chorus of me erupted from the other children, their energy rekindled. Laughter bubbled up again, and Lucas darted to grab the rope for another tug-of-war match. As the kids pulled at the rope, laughter mingled with uncertainty. James could see Mrs. Thompson stepping toward Mr. McMahon, her voice low but steady. We can't be afraid to share joy, no matter how it looks to others. This is our home. A flicker of something crossed Mr. McMahon's face, something resembling doubt or perhaps even the first stirrings of acceptance. All eyes were on him now. What do you want, Mr. McMahon? Emma pressed, her voice sharp but fair. Do you want us to stop enjoying each other's company? Or can we find a way to open up? His hardened expression softened just a bit, but James wasn't sure if it was enough. It felt like the turning point, yet they were all still standing on the precipice, but then, from behind Mr. McMahon, another figure emerged. It was Mrs. McMahon, her demeanor calm and gentle. Dan, she said softly, placing a hand on his arm. Maybe it's time to listen. With a deep breath, James felt the tension ease just a fraction. As eyes turned to the woman, he carried hope that this might be the moment of change they all needed, yet, would it be enough to break through the walls that had stood for so long, or would it all fall apart under the weight of one man's stubbornness? The winds of possibility swirled in the air around them as they waited for Mr. McMahon to reply. Would he embrace the moment or throw it away? The world around them stilled, hearts beating fast in the quiet desperation of hope. James held his breath, the seconds stretching like an eternity. Everyone felt it, an ache of anticipation, a desperate hope that something good might emerge from this tense standoff. Even the children, their faces flushed from laughing moments ago, now stood quiet, clinging to the rope as if it were a lifeline. McMahon shifted uncomfortably beneath the weight of those expectant gazes. For the first time, uncertainty lingered on his face, warring with his deep-seated rigidity. And then, as if the universe had nudged him, he spoke. I don't know," he replied, his voice barely louder than a whisper. Mrs. McMahon squeezed his arm gently, like a soft reminder that community could be more than the standards he held so tightly. "Dan, look around you. This isn't nonsense. This is connection. This is joy. This is what living truly means." Her voice brimmed with kindness, wrapping the words around the crowd like a warm blanket. McMahon's chest tightened. He glanced at the group, James with his hopeful eyes, Emma standing defiantly yet inviting, and Lucas, still clutching the rope with unwavering determination. They held something he had forgotten, a spark of life, a sense of belonging. Watching the scene unfold, James felt his heart skip. He could see the internal battle raging within Mr. McMahon. The man was torn, caught between what he had always known and the possibility of something new. "Children," Mr. McMahon started, the authority in his voice fading, but Emma jumped in again. "Look. We just want to be heard. If you'd join us, you might see how beautiful it really is, Mr. McMahon." The older man swallowed, glancing between the laughter of the children and the earnestness of their pleas. There was energy behind their smiles, a pulse of community that had been held back far too long. In a surprising turn, Mr. McMahon unfolded his arms. I suppose I could try," he said slowly, his voice gaining strength as he continued. "It's just different." Instead of skepticism, laughter erupted from the children, a joyous sound that echoed through the shared space. James couldn't help but grin. Something was shifting, he could feel it. And then, as if on cue, Lucas tossed the rope into the air, prompting everyone to cheer. "Let's play. Who's up for a real tug-of-war?" The children dashed forward, excitement flooding the air once again. Emma beamed at Mr. McMahon, her heart alight with hope. "Come on. It's easy. Just pull." The older man hesitated on the periphery, but Mrs. McMahon nudged him forward until he found himself clutching one end of the rope. There were gasps of surprise and pure joy, and for the first time in a long time, Mr. McMahon felt himself smile, even if it was a tentative one. "Okay, let's do this," he said, a newfound vigor weaving itself into his tone. As the tug-of-war began, laughter resounded in waves, washing over the park like music. The kids pulled with all their might, and for once, all the burdens of standards faded. In that moment, nothing else mattered, just pure, unadulterated joy. But as Mr. McMahon joined in, laughing with the kids, he caught a glimpse of Mrs. McMahon from the corner of his eye. Her expression, a blend of relief and encouragement, made him realize that this was just a beginning, not a conclusion. Would they create a community that embraced all forms of joy? As he pulled on the rope, a thought lingered: what else might he need to let go of? The laughter echoed around him, yet below the surface, a deeper question lingered: could he truly open his heart to change, or was it all just a fleeting moment? The tug-of-war continued, not only with the rope but also with the hesitations that had bound him for years. James felt the thrill of laughter surge through him as the tug-of-war intensified. The rope became a symbol of shared effort and camaraderie, tugging not only at their arms but also at the very core of Mr. McMahon's heart. While the children strained against each other with playful grunts and shouts, Mr. McMahon found himself caught up in the moment, feeling lighter than he had in years. Lucas, a determined glint in his eyes, shouted, "Come on, Mr. McMahon. Pull harder." The collective energy surrounding them was infectious, and for the first time, the man felt the warmth of belonging wrap around him like a soft embrace. Okay, I'm pulling," he called out, his laughter rising unexpectedly. He yanked on the rope with renewed vigor. The children cheered him on, and that newfound spirit burst from him like sunlight breaking through clouds. It was as though each tug released layers of uncertainty he hadn't realized he was carrying. Mrs. McMahon watched from the sidelines, her own heart swelling with pride. She savored this moment, witnessing the transformation of her husband who had always been so rigid and stern. She could see it clearly now, the laughter of the children, the unexpected joy flooding their little group, was washing away a lifetime of his fears. As the game rolled on, the boundaries of their little world began to blend. James, bursting with enthusiasm, shouted out, "Let's form teams. Who wants to challenge Mr. McMahon?" Before he could finish his thought, the kids erupted into cheers, excitedly teaming up against the older man. "Let us show him how it's done." Emma cheered, energized. There was a newfound sense of empowerment that sparked within her. They weren't just kids playing a game, they were teaching Mr. McMahon about freedom, spontaneity, about what it meant to really live. And then, amidst the antics, a sudden stillness washed over the park. Mr. McMahon paused, feeling the weight of a moment where he wasn't just a figure of authority but a participant in joy. The laughter faded for a split second, and he turned to face the small crowd that had formed around them, faces beaming with hope. "Is it okay if we sing something while we play?" A little girl piped up, her ponytail bouncing as she grinned widely. "Sure. What do you want to sing?" Mr. McMahon asked brightly, his heart softening. A chorus of suggestions sprang forth, each one sweeter than the last. As they settled on a familiar tune, the hesitant lines of Mr. McMahon's face began to disappear. The children's voices lifted into the air, blending into a tapestry of sound that filled the park. It wasn't just a song, it was a chant of acceptance and warmth, a bridge from his past to what could be. James joined in, feeling the power of unity swell in his chest. He glanced over at Mr. McMahon, watching him sing alongside the children, his normally stern demeanor replaced with something far more precious. But even as joy wrapped around them like a warm quilt, an unsettling thought crept into Mr. McMahon's mind. Would these moments last? What would happen when the laughter faded, and he returned to the quiet confines of his old life? Just then, a gust of wind tousled the children's hair, as if the universe was nudging him again. This fleeting laughter was the beginning of something greater, a call to remain open to change. As they sang louder, pulling together in harmony, the world outside that park seemed to fade away. Would this shift mark the start of a new chapter for Mr. McMahon and the community he guarded so closely? In that moment, everything felt possible. But as the last notes hung in the air, an unexpected figure emerged from behind a tree, someone from his past who could change everything again. "Dan. You won't believe what I just learned." Mr. McMahon's heart raced at the sound of that familiar voice. It was a name he thought he had left behind. Dan. That joyous moment, just moments ago filled with children's laughter and carefree shouts, felt fragile now, as if a shadow had crept into the sunlight. "Emily." He blinked, trying to reconcile the memory of his childhood friend with the grown woman standing before him. Curly hair now sleek, vibrant eyes that sparkled with mischief. Yet, that same energy was unmistakable. "It's been years. How are you?" She beamed, stepping forward. The kids around them, caught in a bubble of excitement, didn't fully register the heavy pause that hung in the air. But Mr. McMahon felt it, the weight of all those years and the choices made that had led to this moment. He stuttered, searching for the right words. "I didn't expect to see you here." "Likewise." She laughed, but there was an edge to her voice. "I heard about the park and thought I'd come by since I was in the area." "I see you've been busy." Her gaze drifted to the kids, their faces glowing with joy. Each one oblivious to the emotional intersection unfolding right in front of them. McMahon wanted to smile and bask in the joy of the children, but a knot tightened in his stomach. "I'm just helping out," he replied, unsure of how to bridge the chasm that time had carved. "It's been different." Emily's eyes softened. "Different can be good." "You're smiling, Dan. You haven't done that in a long time." Her words pierced through his guarded heart. He had built walls around himself, filled with regrets and fears about who he was and what he had sacrificed. But here, surrounded by laughter, he felt the echo of his younger self. Would she see the gray shadows of his past, or the transformation emerging from this moment? He felt a tug from behind. It was James, pulling at his shirt, eager for attention. "Mr. McMahon, can we keep singing?" "Yeah." The kids chimed in, their voices ringing like bells. Of course, let us not stop. He turned back to the group, shoring up the moment that meant so much more, but as the song swelled back into life, Mr. McMahon faced inward. Emily was still watching him, her expression shifting subtly. Did she sense the change in him, or was the past too thick to cut through? What did she know about those years they had spent apart? James and Emma led the singing, their voices spreading out and gathering strength. Each note felt like a bright thread weaving through the air, wrapping around Mr. McMahon, pulling him back into the warmth of the present. Yet, that ache remained, sitting heavy on his chest. As the last chorus rang out, he caught Emily's eye again. There was an unspoken question hanging between them, one that lingered just beyond their reach. Dan, she began, her voice measured, as if she were treading carefully. I heard about what happened. His heart dropped. What would she say next? Was this a conversation that could build bridges, or one that would unearth the foundations built on guilt and loss? The children were still bouncing with energy, the laughter and joy enveloping them like a soft blanket. But for Mr. McMahon, the weight of Emily's words loomed large. His past stirred uneasily within him, ready to rise. What would come next? Would it bring healing, or open old wounds? Wait. Before you say anything, he needed answers, but he felt that truth was close, perhaps too close. What did you learn, Emily? The uncertainty hung in the air. Would this moment lead to understanding or drift further into confusion? The playground felt still amidst the breeze, and Mr. McMahon held his breath, hoping for clarity in a darkened heart. As the final echoes of laughter faded, James felt a crack of warmth spreading through him, igniting a hope he feared lost forever. The tug-of-war had been electrifying, a high-energy dance that blurred the lines of past grievances and present joy. Now, surrounded by children and an unexpected friend from Mr. McMahon's past, the atmosphere pulsed with a contagious energy, a possibility of something new. McMahon shifted uncomfortably, his eyes darting between the vibrant faces of children and the familiar comfort of Emily's gaze. All these years lived beneath rigid expectations were beginning to crack, and James was right there to witness the transformation. Just as he thought Mr. McMahon would step further, the older man hesitated, something almost human flickering behind his stern facade. Maybe we should set our expectations a little lower, James said, the conviction rich in his voice. Let us just enjoy today, our moment of joy, even if we stumble along the way. Soft gasps arose from the crowd, and for a moment, silence enveloped them. Mr. McMahon's furrowed brow softened as if each word was carving a path toward a realization. He stared at the children again, while James felt a surge of empathy rise. It feels right, being here, even if it's not what I expected. Good. Lucas cheered, energy radiating from him. We're just having fun. You should, too. James couldn't help but smile, a surge of pride swelling in his chest as he realized maybe this was it, the sign that a community could heal, gather, and grow beyond the shadows of isolation. Emily leaned in closer, her voice barely above a whisper, but her essence was loud. It's time to rediscover who you are, Dan. It's time to let go of everything that holds you back. Encouragement laced each word, weaving through Mr. McMahon's defenses. I have been so focused on the past, he began, his voice steady yet uncertain, I lost sight of where I could find joy. Today is a gift, and I better start treating it like one. The children squealed as they pulled at the rope, coaxing him once again into the fold. Mr. McMahon gave a gentle tug, a small gesture of willingness, pulling something more profound than just fabric. It was an acceptance of today, of laughter, of belonging. As the final sun dipped beneath the horizon, hearts opened like petals of a bloom unfurling. They reveled in the moment, the air thick with laughter echoing against the trees. James, grinning, caught sight of Emma, her eyes glistening with unshed tears of joy. She took James's hand tightly, and in that moment, everything felt right. Lucas jumped up in excitement, calling out, "Who wants to eat some chili?" The suggestion lifted the spirits even higher and laughter reignited the gathering. Mr. McMahon found himself chuckling at his own incredulity. "I guess I could stay for dinner," he uttered, the corners of his mouth lifting in a way that surprised himself. "You need to try James's chili," Emma encouraged, guiding him gently. "You'll find it's the best around." And as they strolled toward tables filled with vibrant food and shared conversations, James realized something powerful. It was not just about the picnic or the games, it was about creating a family one thread at a time. In the heart of Maple Grove, friendships born of faith and bravery knit closer together. Accepting laughter cracked the burdens of judgment, instilling passage to something far beyond what they had known. As dusk settled in, James marveled at the sense of community blooming around him, a feeling stronger than the disapproval that had once threatened to drown him in loneliness. This was a family authentic, genuine, a tapestry woven not just of shared blood, but of shared hearts. They stood together, a mesh of pasts intersecting with hope. "Here's to second chances, to unexpected friendships," James announced, raising his cup filled with chili. "To new beginnings," echoed the crowd, lifting theirs high. In that moment, everyone knew their stories would intertwine, crafting a narrative rich in understanding, compassion, and love. As night enveloped them in its embrace, laughter and shared dreams fluttered in the air like the gentle breeze that whispered promises of tomorrow, and just like that, the shadows faded, revealing a light that had always been there, waiting, growing. With a heart full of joy, James looked toward a future that now seemed bright and limitless. The bonds forged here were just the start. They had the strength to uplift, to unify, and to carry them through whatever challenges lay ahead. Even when darkness threatened, these connections, woven from love, would guide their way. This is the moment to show your support. If you enjoyed this incredible journey, you need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and let everyone else revel in this heartwarming tale. Comment below your reactions and feelings about the ending. What did it mean to you? And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.